Hi, welcome to part 2 of the TIFS course overview. In this video we're going to be looking at the assessment phase of the TIFS program. In this phase there are 12 steps. The first step has to do with completing a life script questionnaire number 1 and plotting the outcome on a graph. This will give us some specific areas of woundedness as well as some specific survival strategies that we've developed to defend against those wounds. In step 2 we'll review family history and take a look at the parenting that we got by completing life script questionnaire number 2. And we'll also identify any reference experiences or traumatic experiences that have left a mark that cause problems later on in our adult years. In step 3 we'll identify any survival roles or coping styles that we use as a result of our survival strategies. Survival roles include being the family hero, either the flashy one or the behind-the-scenes responsible one, the family rebel or scapegoat, who's always in trouble and misbehaving, the lost child, who gets lost in the crowd, and the mascot, who's always on stage. You'll hear about or read about these survival roles in the iceberg presentation. We'll also look at the coping styles that each part of us tends to use. Coping styles include fighting a script that we've identified up here, fighting a pattern of behavior, or surrendering to that pattern of behavior, or avoiding having to choose either way. Let's say, for instance, we have a people-pleasing pattern of behavior. If we want to fight that particular pattern to cope with it, then we'll have some behaviors that are designed towards not pleasing anyone. And if we surrender to the people-pleasing pattern, then we'll want to try and please everyone. And if we want to avoid worrying about pleasing others, we just stay away from people altogether, or some other method of avoiding the issue. In step 4, we'll look at family rules and injunctions that are pretty much unspoken but deeply embedded in the subconscious programming that we get. Our family may teach us don't talk, don't trust, don't feel, don't be or don't exist, don't succeed or don't do better than me, don't do anything, be careful, don't be a child, don't belong, don't grow up, don't be well, don't be important, don't be you, be who I want you to be more like your brother, don't be close. These are just a few examples of family rules and injunctions that get deeply embedded in the subconscious mind of the family members. And sometimes they don't get passed on, they just are the results of misinterpretations by the child. And yet they get deeply embedded anyway. And these rules can drive our behavior, as we'll see in the next step. The 5 drivers create a safety net of okayness. If I obey my driver behaviors, then everything's okay. But if I violate one of those drivers, then I can fall through the safety net into the land of unokayness, of not being okay. The 5 drivers can be summed up in these 5 patterns. Be strong, be perfect, please others, try hard or make everything a struggle, or hurry up. Now, most of us can relate to all 5 of these drivers, but we all usually have a hierarchy where one of them will take the top spot and another one will be number 2, and we may even have a combination of try hard to please others and be perfect. Various combinations of these. But they're called drivers because they drive everything we think, feel, and do. And if we're obeying those drivers, then we're in a safety net of okayness. Everything's fine as long as I'm obeying those drivers. But as soon as I violate a primary driver, I get triggered into an emotional theme, which we'll talk about in the next step. To give an example, if I have a be perfect driver and I make a mistake and someone important to me notices it, then I could fall through the safety net into a place of unokayness, where if I externalize it, then I'm okay and you're not. If I internalize it, then I'm not okay, I'm bad, I'm stupid, and you're okay, or nothing and neither one of us is okay. So this is when I get triggered into those emotional themes. And in step 6 of the TIFS program, we need to identify what emotional themes are we familiar with and what's the cycle of drama that we're used to. A theme, when we get triggered, would include an excessive childlike experience of anger or sadness or fear, perhaps a sense of shame or guilt that's excessive, or maybe glad, feeling glad or silly or like a clown, or maybe even numbing out. Now these feelings are just feelings, but if we have them as emotional themes, then they're excessive feelings, and once we get through the episode we feel like that was kind of childish or childlike. That's when we get triggered into one of those emotional themes, and that's when everything's not okay. And then I can experience a certain chemistry or a drama cycle that goes along with being triggered. And in fact, this is a cycle that just goes round and round when I'm triggered. I have experience of a negative chemistry. You can think of it as little brown frowny faces floating through your bloodstream, and a bad feeling of negative chemistry that builds until I look for some comfort and relief. And when I find the comfort and relief, it's like I got little happy faces flowing through my bloodstream now, and I feel better. And then, like any other anesthetic or sedative, that happy feeling wears off pretty soon, and then I have no chemistry at all. When I have no chemistry at all, as a couple we may get bored. And then one of us may say exactly the right thing at exactly the wrong time, triggering the other one, so that we get into a phase of negative chemistry, where one of us distances and the other pursues. And there's a fight or some other kind of drama that takes place. Well, sooner or later, both participants in that situation would like to just get past everything. So we either make up or we have a ceasefire. And that's when we experience that positive chemistry. And again, that only lasts for a short time till we have no chemistry, because we have to have that chemistry of drama, which is what we're used to. So somebody will say exactly the right thing at exactly the wrong time, and we'll start another cycle. Okay, and step 7, we need to look at the drama triangle roles and other mind games that we can play. We call these games, but they're not really any fun. In fact, they're more harmful than helpful. And all the other games beneath the drama triangle are just variations of the drama triangle. The drama triangle has 3 roles. There's always a persecutor, and then there's a persecutee or a victim, and then there's a rescuer to come in and save the day and rescue the victim. And that's why they call it a triangle. It's a triangle of drama. Now, typically in families, when there's people that gravitate toward one of these roles, but the drama comes in when there's a switch. Maybe the persecutor starts getting persecuted by the rescuer, who gets rescued by the victim for being persecuted. That's when the drama can really get bad. There are other variations on the drama triangle, like the "Now I Got You, you SOB," and the other game might be Kick Me, where I wear a kick me sign, or I say exactly the right thing at exactly the wrong time, and the "Now I Got You, you SOB" comes in. And we have maybe cycles of punishment and forgiveness. Those all create that chemistry of drama. Now, the next thing we want to do in the assessment process is get to meet our various aspects of self, or parts of self. And I call it meeting the inner family of self. And we can do that as we inventory our parts or our ego states through something I call the ego state projection exercise. This is where we project out into the room and separate from various parts of me. Maybe I've detected angry feelings, and I invite those angry feelings to take a form and a shape on the other side of the room or in a chair opposite me, as in Gestalt therapy when I do empty chair techniques, or other therapies where I dissociate or I separate from those different parts of myself. I can have as many as 3 to 5 different parts in the room at the same time and have them communicating their thoughts and feelings. And we'll go through an ego state projection exercise in one of the audios in this course, and you'll see how it works. And then there's also another exercise we can do called ego state mapping, which is good for exploring your inner landscape. With ego state mapping, we discover which part or parts is most active. Is it a critical part, an angry part, a vulnerable, scared, or needy part? Which part is most powerful? Do we disown or reject certain parts of ourselves? How do our parts get along with each other? How do we get along with our parts? Do I like certain parts and hate other parts? Do I have conflict between parts? Ego state mapping will help us get a lay of the land, or help us explore that inner landscape. And then we also, throughout the process, be gathering evidence of our core limiting beliefs. Maybe beliefs that I'm not lovable, I'm not worthwhile, I'm not good enough, I'm less than, I'll never be okay, I'll never get what I want, I'll never get what I need. Those limiting core beliefs and magical thinking of childhood can dog us into adulthood and cause problems in our relationships. So we want to identify those core beliefs, and each part may have its own core belief. And we want to look at the magical thinking, like black and white thinking, or personalizing, or catastrophizing, or mind reading, the magical thinking that each part might engage in. And we want to start looking at what those core beliefs are, because those will have to become targets of change. And having completed all of these first 10 steps, we will now be able to put it all together in a one-sheet summary of all the above. This will be my survival mode, or my self-preservation system. If I'm engaging in these dysfunctional patterns and rules, then I'm in survival mode. And when I'm in survival mode, I can't grow, I can't heal. All I can do is exist. And I can begin to experience stress-related disorders if it goes on long enough and it's bad enough. I can get chronic fatigue, or fibromyalgia, or even adrenal exhaustion. And once I've completed all this and collected enough to fill in my self-preservation system, then we can begin goal setting for the recovery phase. We'll use a neurolinguistic process called the well-formed outcomes process in order to set primary goals. And in the next video, we'll look at how we can put all that into action to begin a recovery process.